Greetings, heroes and Force users of all ages. Welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. I'm Alyssa Simmons, and today I'm joined by my two pals, Dino Nicandros.
Hello.
And Daniel Dawson. Yikes. And today we are talking the HBO Max special, Harry Potter's 20th anniversary return to Hogwarts. And by God, we're Harry Potter fans.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.
Well, that was a fun special they made for us.
It was really sweet.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah. It's interesting. Okay, so first question. Did you grow up with the books or the films or both?
Both.
Both.
Read all the books before the movies came out.
The ones that had come out.
The ones that had come
right.
out, obviously,
right,
before.
Sure.
Because how many was it just the first two that had come out by the time first movie?
I want to say Azkaban
First
had been
three.
out as well.
Okay.
And then Goblet of Fire was no, maybe it was... No,
we
Goblet
don't know
Goblet of
anything
Fire...
about Harry Potter. Welcome to this podcast.
Yes. I the first three, for sure.
Yeah.
Goblet of Fire came out, I think, around the time of Chamber of Secrets.
Sounds right
Yeah.
to me. Yes. So both.
Wouldn't know.
You did not read.
Because Daniel
No.
does not read.
That is correct. If you are a
That's
fan
present
of this
tense.
podcast,
Doesn't
you would
read.
understand at this point that I
Can't read.
can't read. I've never read.
Tries?
Yep.
Can't.
Mm-mm. I read the same paragraph over and over again until I cry myself to sleep. Because my ADD is really great.
Have you tried listening to any of them on tape, like book on
Jim
tape?
Dale?
I have... No, I've never done that.
I feel like maybe you might like that.
Get the
I might.
audiobook versions
No,
with
and
Jim
I
Dale.
joke and I jest because, like, truly, if I'm in the right mindset and I'm like not like super scatterbrained, I love reading. Yeah, the source material is great, like the Harry Potter books,
Yes.
for instance. And look, the books that are on the table right now, these are all
Here
my
they
books
are.
that I have read.
That's good.
Yes,
Good, I'm glad.
but I read them in my adulthood, not.
Post
Gotcha.
movies
Yeah.
coming out.
So the visions that I had in my head were of the film characters.
That makes sense. I think that's a lot of people. What about you, Dino? Did you?
So, I was in, I guess, second grade when the first...
Oh, little second.
The first-
grade.
Second? Really?
Do you know?
Second or third grade when the first book came out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I think I was in the fifth or sixth. Am I that
Or
much-
no, I'm sorry, not when it came out. When I had it read to me. So
Oh, I see.
our because the first book was 1997. So
Was that
no,
before
this
or
was,
after you joined the Sith?
I was in and out for the first 10 years of my life.
They let you do that.
Oh, also, if you're not a fan of this podcast already, just to prepare you, he will be sympathizing with Voldemort at some point during
Obviously.
this, for sure. because-
Guys, when you don't have parents, or rather when you have, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. But so my second grade teacher, shout out to you, Lynn Cater,
Cute.
read us Sorcerer's Stone.
Yes.
In Texas, were the Christians so mad?
Oh, I was in a Christian school. Like,
He
Oh.
is not a Christian!
Were they huffy? Were there lots of
no.
huffy parents?
No.
Oh, wow.
Dark-sided!
no,
That's surprising to me.
well, and I'll talk about this later, but I took a class my freshman year at Pepperdine where we had a seminar class where you could choose the topic from like a list of like 30 that
Did they
professors
choose Harry Potter?
I chose a Harry Potter class that my professor had written a book
A
about
whole class.
Christianity and Harry Potter.
How fun.
And-
Christianity in Harry Potter? Or and?
Yes,
Yes, and.
both. Yes, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, both.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it was amazing. But
I have, we'll put a pin in that because I'm very curious
It's
what the hell
ve-
that was about.
it fits very well.
Oh,
But
that's not surprising.
Well, yeah, there's like there's resurrection, there's like
Most
a
sci-fi,
sacrifice.
sci-fi fantasy things are.
Yeah.
There's lots of
Allegory.
connections and correlations.
Allegory is the word.
but
That's a literary word because I'm a literary person. I read books and I'm literary.
And I use a litter box.
Yeah, dude,
He does.
that's right.
So she read it to us in second grade. I was absolutely enthralled by it. And
Oh, yeah.
she read us Chamber of Secrets as well. And then I remember reading Prisoner of Azkaban. And then when Goblet of Fire came out,
The Goblets of Fire.
I was at Barnes & Noble at midnight to go get that
Oh,
one.
awesome.
Was there a lot of people
back
there?
when people bought books.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
Back when Barnes and Noble was like the king of bookstores.
Yeah.
Every time I walk into Barnes & Noble, I kid you, I was there right before I left New York. I think of Harry Potter. Like I think of those
That's the
nights.
memory associated with
That's
it.
all I associate, and it's
It
a happy
was-
memory.
It was really cool to see the footage in the special of, especially in the UK.
Yeah.
Like you have the memory of it. I didn't do any of the like waiting at the bookstore when it came out.
Yeah.
I did wait at the movie theater.
Yes, I did too.
So that was going to be my question. Do you remember where you were and who you were with when you first saw Sorcerer's Stone,
First one? Oh man.
which came out in 2001?
I was definitely with my family.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that we saw it at the Tustin Marketplace.
Oh.
That is, I don't know why that's my memory. But
I was with my family. Was it a holiday release?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It was right in between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that feels right. I feel like I was, and it was the year of our Lord
2001.
2001. That's right.
That was a big fall. Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings.
Oh my god. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. So I was 2001. I would have been in 7th grade.
Wait a minute.
8th grade, 7th grade, or 8th grade.
Yeah, I was in
2001
fourth.
of
I was in
fall?
fourth.
So
Yeah.
I wonder if I saw it
Right before it was about to become 2002. So you would
Right.
have been in high school.
because it was like December, right? Or no?
I think it was November.
Was it
but
November?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well then, yeah, I might have been in college. Oh my god. Did I see it in college? In Greeley?
I saw the
Colorado?
later. I definitely remember being with college friends for the later films.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
I think like the last couple. I was out of college.
I was
as
already
well.
in college.
I had just gotten into my first year of college was when I remember seeing Deathly Hallows.
I am
and
old, I am ugly, I embarrass you. No! You are ashamed of me.
No, you are ashamed.
But yeah, I unlike I think most of my friends, I like, yeah, I was pretty old by the time the book came out or the movies came out.
Okay.
I guess the books too, really. So I didn't really grow up with them. Like
so that's
the
interesting.
characters
So
did.
how is your experience experiencing them as adults? Like,
like reading the books as an adult.
just-
They're still like filled with like wonder and emotion and like, but yeah, it's hard for me to put myself in child version of me shoes.
that was a sentence.
Yeah, I don't know how I would have reacted as a child reading the books, but I mean, I obviously loved reading. Oh my god, getting through the fourth one was like it's very exciting, but my god, is it long?
And Order of the Phoenix is even longer.
Yeah.
That's-
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I loved reading them.
Yeah.
Especially
Yes.
all the trans rights things that they put in there.
God.
It's just so kind. So kind to
Oh,
all the
gosh.
trans people. The books were.
Liz, what was your experience like growing up with them? I know your sister Hannah's
Yeah, Hannah's a big.
really likes it.
Hannah loves them. They're a big part of like we always at least once a year watch
Nice.
all the films. I think I immediately was drawn to them for the sort of sci-fi fantasy element, which
Yeah.
I have all three of us have loved our whole entire lives. To me, it felt because I hadn't read any of the Lord of the Rings at that
Yeah.
point in my life.
Oh, I have.
I hadn't because I was 10. So
Yeah, that was a no-go back
Not
then.
your 10-year-old.
I think I read Hobbit when I was 13 or 14. So it wasn't that long
that
off.
checks out.
But I think to me it felt like I was just completely immersed in this whole new world. It felt a lot like Neverending Story to me, which I loved so much as a kid. And all of them were around my age. Like I was 5th
Yeah.
grade when the first book came out, so I was 10.
Yeah.
And
That's I think a lot of my friends' experience because it's growing up at the age of the character.
yeah,
Yes.
so
It's
that
you're
was
growing
like
up with
that
them.
was really wild to be like, and especially
was.
when the films came out. Like the actors are all a little bit younger than me, but still in the same, like they're my sister Hannah's age.
Yep.
And so to sort of, it was really cool to grow up with characters. I think that's why a lot of people from our generation have such a
emotional bond.
an attachment with the books and with the characters from the films
Right.
and the films themselves, because those informative years of growing
It
up.
is very much ours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is this generation's thing, and I wouldn't even say something like Star Wars that has had a resurgence twice over in the last 20 years.
Right.
They're making it for us now, but it wasn't ours
Right.
when we first saw it,
Right.
So it's cool that like whenever we share Harry Potter with our kids or friends as we grow older, that was something that was, as you said, like truly formative to this generation's identity. And I have nothing but pleasant memories of like some of my best memories growing up are kind of around Harry Potter.
Well, and for us, it was the first, except for the Star Wars films, like, and the Lord of the Rings films. But these films were
And Gone with the Wind.
Daniel's experience of Gone with the Wind.
Daniel was born about 3 weeks after that premiered.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
1936.
That's right. That's right.
But, which no one experiences now because movie theaters are all reservation
Oh my
systems.
God.
But we all went to these
Back in my day.
midnight premieres of these movies and getting to, have the hype of everyone around, the excitement of, oh, did you read the book? Oh, yeah, I'm so excited. I hope that this looks this way, and I hope that this character, like,
And
isn't
we
a
did that
letdown
waiting in the
she's
snow.
my favorite in the book, and, like, all this stuff. So it's really cool.
No, that's not true. We didn't have any snow here.
We don't
See,
snow
I
here.
remember it was Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in Houston over the summer. This was after my freshman year of college. And I got a group of like 15 friends together.
So fun.
And we were going to go get in line at like 3 p.m. for the true midnight
Yeah,
showing.
the actual midnight.
And
yeah.
my sister did 3 hours of prosthetics on me. And turned me into
Voldemort.
Voldemort.
Okay,
not surprised. I'm not surprised.
We'll post that
yeah,
on
I don't
our
have
story
the-
so you can.
I don't
all
have my phone with me,
see
but
that.
and I was sweating, and then the paint was coming off as I was just sobbing
Sure.
at the end of that movie.
We're
in college now.
because
Like
your boy
we're getting to
Voldemort died.
adulthood, and yeah,
You're so sad that Voldemort passed away.
they didn't give him a
That's it.
chance.
That-
He had the right idea.
My boy.
But I remember, and it's unlike anything I've felt in pop culture. I remember like leaving the theater after that was over, and just feeling dead inside. Like it was like we all just instantly grew up. It's like that's
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
Like I just started college. It's like you're in the big old world now, and so are they.
Was the
And-
final movie 2009?
11.
11.
Yes,
God.
So there
that-
was two parters. So it was 2010 and 2011.
Yes.
So
'Cause I do-
fall of 2010.
I was trying to remember because I was like I fondly remember that I was on the Cats tour and seeing the last
Okay.
movie. Yeah, with all my Cats peoples. Yeah, a bunch of cats.
He went to the movie theater with, and they all turned into different people. It's like McGonagall.
Oh, absolutely. McGonagall is who I based my cat off of 100%.
Oh, I have I believe that.
Oh no, it's absolutely out of the question.
I was bummed she wasn't on there. I mean, she's
I
Maggie
know.
Smith, so I know she's
She
not.
can't be bothered.
she can't.
I mean,
she's busy with
she's very
7,000
busy.
projects, but
I also imagine she's the kind of person who might have just said no.
Maybe.
It's like I don't like
I
to.
don't-
She doesn't revel in the past.
Yeah.
I've seen her say this in interviews before. She's never watched Downton Abbey. She's never
Never?
like, no. She's not.
How
I-
funny.
that
She's
doesn't
not a
surprise me
nostalgia
about her.
person.
Yeah.
I guess that checks out.
I was really
You don't
interested.
think that she's going to be in Sister Act 3 then?
Probably not.
Hmm.
They'd have to pay her. I mean, I guess if the price is
God,
right,
I hope that she is. She's the best part.
she's very good.
She's so great.
So going into this special, this HBO Max produced special,
Which was very produced.
it
was
was very
surprisingly
produced. I
produced.
was sort of expecting it to be in the same vein as the Friends reunion special, which they produced, a year ago or
In
what
regards
have you.
to that, I am so glad that they didn't have James Corden. No, I'm just joking. But they didn't have a host in general. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm glad that they kept it between them
Yes.
because oftentimes you get a famous host in there or something, and then it kind of like they're sort of like
It's contrived.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well then they're like, it's like you weren't a part of the family, like you're like this outsider, and I don't know.
Yeah, and
like,
the parts I think that they learned from what they did with the Friends thing, because the parts that worked really well in the Friends special were having them all walk onto the set.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like get like kind of like they did them one at a time, so they were like walking onto the set and being like, holy crap. And I mean, they were same situation as with the Harry Potter peeps. It's
Harry Potter
you
peeps.
know 10 years of their lives that they
Yeah.
spent
Yeah.
in this space. And yeah, so that worked really well. And when they did when they talked to like had, you know, surprise guests and stuff, which they didn't really do so much for this, but yeah, I thought it worked really well. And I thought it was it sort of was exactly what we were just talking about. It was all of the actors sort of getting to just be nostalgic and talk about and think about the 10 years of their lives that they spent
And
working
reminding
on these
themselves
films.
like how much of a family they are. Oh, and also letting us in on some cast secrets, as like I did not know that Hermione wanted to bang Draco Malfoy. That is something that I
See,
learned.
Daniel heard it like that. I heard it like we just immediately had this like, you know, brother sister kinship. But Daniel is like, ooh, Hermione and Draco.
They're gonna bang. Yeah.
You know, I think I was relieved by the special, honestly,
Oh,
because
interesting.
I feel like 20 years on from anything really important, you hear, and maybe I'm just jaded kind of by
Life.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah,
the
maybe.
thing that makes you jaded.
maybe.
Life.
But like how actors recently talked about like the Star Wars sequels,
Oh,
or,
uh-huh.
and that's just one example. But I've seen this a few times where the experience might not have been as pleasant as you imagined it or kind of hoped it would be.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I was going through so much like heartache and sadness.
Yeah, and it really was
just-
only like for them, I think like the last probably 2 films that I think that the
Yeah.
fame and everything.
was
Yeah,
just
it's
got
grappling
to
with
them.
that.
Very difficult for these. I mean, I cannot imagine that.
No,
'Cause
no.
you yeah, especially as a child, because I mean, like the well, I don't know, like I can't remember in like if Mark Hamill and all of them like talked about like after they had done the first couple of films, like if they're like, oh, like I think that this is going to be like this forever, like we're always going to be.
Well, Mark Hamill always jokes. He said, "We knew it was going to be a." No, it was Carrie Fisher who jokes like, "We knew it was going to be a hit immediately," which they did.
They
That's not
didn't.
true,
They didn't.
No,
right? Yeah.
No. Yeah.
She's like, I don't know what you guys were thinking. I thought this was going to be the biggest thing ever. But yeah, when they got to Empire Strikes Back, it was like, oh God.
We are
Yeah,
now
yeah.
like immortal, basically.
But Rupert Grint said it in the special. He's like, there were times I didn't know who I was outside
Yeah,
of
and-
Ron Weasley.
yeah. It
Which
becomes
would be
part of your
very,
identity.
very
Yeah.
difficult for someone who's at that point, you know, had been doing it for more than half of their lives.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
like the
on the
weird
s-
concept of it. Like, you know, they started at, you know, all in between the ages of like 8 to 12, right?
Right.
The
I
kids,
can just
so
I can empathize on the very smallest of levels because of this podcast.
You've grown up on this podcast. I've watched you
"Oh
grow up on this podcast, Daniel.
people throw their panties at me at the supermarket because of this podcast.
Daniel, the guy who can't read. No, but like in Frozen, okay, it was the
Yeah.
longest thing I'd
Yeah.
ever done, and doing as many performances as Olaf as I did, and also like my family, like the youngest of my family, like my nephews, like being like, "You're Uncle Olaf," you know?
Yeah,
like
that's
that,
like a huge part of
Yeah.
your identity to them.
yeah, like it was a thing that like I actually had to like kind of grapple with my therapist. I was like, I'm not Olaf, right? Like I'm me.
I can have my own stuff, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I mean, but I can so like literally on the most fractional, smallest of scales. Like so, like dealing with it on that giant level that they did, I can't.
And in
even
your
imagine.
like most informative years of life.
Yes, that
Right.
too. Because
Like
I'm like a
from-
full ass grown adult.
From 8 to 18.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole lot of growing up that
Yeah.
happens in those
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Very
wowsy.
interesting. They only just dipped their toes into that, but I would have loved an entire special just talking about that. I'm
oh
very
yeah, I would have
curious.
listened to them talk about that because
Mhm.
I mean, you always it's actually quite miraculous that the three of them in particular are such grounded,
well-adjusted adults.
human beings.
Yeah.
Because that does a lot to, especially, little brains that are still developing.
Well, and that is kind of part of my relief by the special is, number one, seeing how much they all liked each how much they all like each other.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
And then
Or at
looking
least
back
how
on
good
it,
they faked it.
at this point, you don't even show up for the special, I think.
Yeah, well, and
But
a lot of people didn't.
But a lot of people did also.
Yes,
like
also a
for
lot of people
specials
did.
like this, considering how many people are involved and the family they formed, but how positive an experience, outside of the fame getting to them, but like how positive an experience it was, because that reads on screen. Like
Yes.
it reaffirms that everything you saw on screen was genuine. Like they love each other.
Yep.
They cared about the material, and then all these famous British actors who we love from all different
Everything.
things, that
Literal
they
royalty.
too came in and just had an appreciation for it.
Yeah,
and
we're so willing to play.
doesn't that kind of validate your
Oh yeah.
your childhood experience?
Absolutely.
It's like
Yeah, and they all
Yeah.
this was a good thing.
and they
like,
treated all the kids like they were adult actors.
yeah, respect. Like
Yeah.
you don't have this troubled atmosphere of
Yeah,
Okay.
I
there was
think
this
that
going
was-
on in the
yeah,
background.
Yeah, that was
or,
my favorite part about it. Just getting to watch all of them, talk about, how sweet, like, Daniel Radcliffe and Helena Bonham Carter's like
Yeah, their
little, like,
relationship.
1 minute exchange, and it's like that's so sweet, and just like you said, a testament to the kind of people that they hired
Yeah.
to be in
Yeah.
those films, and the entire creative team and crew, all the directors, all the writers. Like it just, yeah, it felt nice to be like, oh,
Mhm.
this is a good thing in my, memory, my like life memory.
and it was real.
And
it was real.
good.
It was
Yes.
genuine and
Uh-huh.
real.
Like I don't have to change
Because
my opinion of it.
you can tell when you see, because the reunion special thing is very much a thing now.
Yes.
Even if it's just on a talk show or something, and they bring, a couple of the people from Will and Grace on to talk to
Yeah.
each other,
Right.
long running sitcoms or, film franchises or whatever. And you can tell when it's like,
Put
yeah,
on.
they worked together.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we had a family. It was a family. And like that thing is thrown around a lot.
Yes.
But this felt very genuine.
that happens
to
in
me.
like when we do musicals and stuff. It's like you guys were together for literally less than a month. Like no,
Yeah.
but we're related now. Like this is my sister. I'll never forget her. And then you like.
And you do.
But you know what? In most cases, yes.
Unless you marry them.
Yeah,
Like I
right,
did.
right. You're right.
Yeah, right.
Unless you're that.
But see, that's the point I was actually going to make is, yeah, we deal with it on a much smaller level.
very-
But to someone listening who doesn't maybe understand the phenomenon of working with a cast or
And the
in a
immense
performance,
trust that sort of has to happen when
yes.
oftentimes people that you have known for minutes are now in charge of your very literal
Safety,
life and
yeah.
yeah, right.
flying, or if it's like a some crazy lift on stage. I'm
Or
like,
your
I just met
emotional-
someone and they're
Yeah.
or,
Your emotional
or
vulnerability.
trusting people
Yes.
emotionally.
Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
trust you with my heart right now because
Well, yeah, I'm thinking of a very specific moment that I will keep to myself, but it was on
Tell us
on
Tell
stage
us.
where it's just two people. You're not in a rehearsal. There's no director to save you. Like whatever happens here is going to happen, and you do form connections. And yeah, maybe
Mm-hmm.
they ebb and flow as time goes on, but
I know
it's
what you're
really
talking
cool
about.
to see. You know, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
You don't.
I do.
Okay, it's not you.
Damn it!
Oh man.
But after 10, imagine that after 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you saw each other at 11 and now you can drink legally.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a wild
that's
span
wild to
of
think
life.
about.
Wild span.
Wild span. Yeah, so what were your favorite parts of the special?
Oh, you know what?
Sequences or...
I think well, there was a few, but I think, and I don't think it was just because it was at the end of the special that was like, oh, that's the only thing I remember. But but the
credits.
That's possible.
You
The
love the
credits are
credits.
really nice. The graphics. No, it was Hagrid's description of, the actor who played
Robbie
Hagrid.
Coltrane.
Yeah, his description of like that like in 50 years they'll be showing it to their kids and like like I won't be here, but Hagrid will be.
That
And
was
so
very
like
sweet.
and yeah, just like those people really do kind of get the feeling that they're like literally immortal.
They are.
They are,
At least their characters are.
Yeah.
But there is a portion of them that is in these characters because like they even said like what's his face like is Ron Weasley.
Rupert.
Yep.
He and like they are these characters. So like they are now literally immortal, which is like such a cool like how many people can really say that, and it's very very that was touching to hear. Especially like hearing it from little Hagrid. He was so
such
sweet.
a sweet guy.
You can tell that all the kids I call them kids, they're our age.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Literally.
That they just have such a love for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a little like a big Santa Claus dad person. Yeah.
Dragon Santa.
Dragon Santa.
Yeah, I loved that. I got choked up at that moment. That just thinking about just having like a very brief glimpse 50 years from now and imagining watching it.
Yeah.
And it's still feeling the same is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
The part that really made me laugh was Jason Isaacs plays Lucius Malfoy describing stabbing his son with his viper cane.
But
That poor kid.
And Tom Felton looking back up at him and like, oh, it's all right. It was good for the scene.
It's good for the scene.
poor little baby.
12-year-old boy.
Is this what acting is? I guess.
I'm actually in pain.
I'm not sure this is for me anymore, but
Keep rolling.
I think that's hysterical,
Just
and
wonderful.
it is very much Jason Isaac. He plays some of the worst people
the worst
Oh.
imaginable.
He's a good villain, though.
He's a very
Yeah.
good villain.
Yeah.
And he enjoys being typecasted. Like
He loves it.
He
He
was
revels in it.
he voiced the Inquisitor on Star Wars Rebels.
Yes.
Like he's
Yes.
right.
and he said, "I want to play that live action." I was like, "Well, come on
Please.
down
Get
and do
in.
it."
We'd like
Get
that
in
Like
to
there.
like
happen.
this year, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get it done, Disney.
So I thought that was hysterical that he knew his little counterpart was game for anything, so he
Yes.
went too far and stabbed him in the hand.
Whoops.
It was great.
But yeah, he does seem like he's like an actor who's not afraid of making some like bold choices that aren't like actual directions and stuff. Like the moment he talked about like kicking Dobby or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just like,
And the director was like,
brilliant. What
because
did- what
Dobby
just
wasn't
happened?
there.
Yeah.
They do it in post. But the director was like, what did you just do? I just kicked Dobby down the stairs.
yeah,
He's
he's just like, oh, let's clean up that
Okay.
spot
Right.
where he slipped.
All
And
right.
he's like, no, I didn't slip. He's like, well, why did you do that? Yeah, so funny.
It's hilarious. And yes, you're going to all groan and eye roll, but I'm going to talk about Ray Fiennes for a moment.
Here we go.
Well, I mean, I would be confused if you didn't talk about him, but go on.
I mean, he's
I've watched
effing brilliant.
I've watched a lot of interviews with him over the years talking about Voldemort and how they had to kind of convince him, but once he saw the pictures and then
Well, and his kids.
with his kids, and then talking about how he starts with physicalization and how he really found the character through the voice. And
Yes.
I really nerd out on how people embody
Yeah.
That's my favorite way to get into a character. I
find the voice.
I work outward in.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people work inward outward, but yeah, like that for me, I don't usually find the character until like sometimes not even until I get into the costume. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, there
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some people that feel that way about like shoes. I know Patty
Yeah.
LaHone like immediately is informed by whatever shoes the costuming
Sure.
department has decided to put her character in, and so she has to rehearse in her show shoes no matter what.
Just like penguin flip flops. She's like, yes,
And
now
then
I
she's like,
understand.
now
I
am the walk of what's that penguin movie called?
March of the
March of the
the March of the Penguins, the musical, starring Patty LuPone,
Coming this fall.
starring Patty LuPone and Morgan Freeman.
Oh my god.
Wait, I
gonna
want it.
It's
I really
gonna be
want
good.
it. That's
It's gonna be really good.
horrifying.
I'm Morgan Freeman.
But I
Yeah,
think it's
he's so brilliant, and even in just like talking for 2 seconds about like when he said like what did he say like hello Harry or something like,
Potter.
just like had said
Yes.
his name. I was
Yeah.
like, oh god,
Ew.
he really just he's so brilliant.
when I remember them describing him on on set, like that scene in Goblet of Fire when he just comes back and all the Death Eaters are standing around, and somebody had described him. It's like it was this sadistic he looked like a dancer. Like he had there was this playfulness, this really sick playfulness.
He could easily be in Cats.
He could easily be in Cats.
Easily.
And then his
Macavity.
Wave that
There's
thing around.
no one like Ralph Fiennes.
and then he described
Voldemort.
like, oh my God, Daniel.
Voldemort. Okay, well, it's a work in progress. Work in progress.
Whoa.
No, but he described like finding the character. He describes him as pure evil, and
Yeah.
you don't normally describe villains as that. I think every actor who plays a villain has to say, "Well, they don't.
why are they
they're
that
not,
way?" And
but
yeah.
they're not evil.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in their mind."
They have a reason.
But he was
for what
like,
they're
"I
doing.
wanted to embody him as pure evil, but how do you find your way into that?" And he's like, "Well, you start with the idea of you start with the fact that the idea of love is repulsive."
Yeah.
And then you go, why? And then you keep asking, why? And then you have
Evil.
him. And I was like, that's
Whoa.
pretty. And he's played, speaking of guys who played some evil people, he's Schindler's List. I mean,
Yeah.
could have
Yeah.
been an
He
audition.
was amazing as the little girl in the red dress. The red.
No, we're moving on from that.
We're not doing jokes. So
Anyway,
about that.
I was glad to
Good,
see
smart.
him, and I was
Very
glad to
smart.
see him enthusiastic about it. I don't know why he wouldn't be, but it was
Oh,
like
no,
it's great
yeah.
to see like these people of huge renown think so fondly of that
And taking it so seriously.
Yeah, right. Alyssa, what
Yeah.
what were your favorite parts?
I think just watching everyone reminisce. I've always been such a huge fan of Helena Bonham Carter,
Yeah.
and
I
so
fucking love her.
she is an absolute kook in the best of ways.
She seems
and,
like she would be
That
everybody's
laugh.
best friend.
Yeah, I really want to be friends with her.
Yeah.
Like so bad.
Just go for a drink or something.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, she's so great. And she always, because for a while I was like, oh, I feel like maybe she's kind of a specific flavor. And she's very good at that flavor.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you two have watched her in The Crown. But
Yeah, oh,
she's-
yes.
Brilliant.
She's
It was Margaret, yeah.
yeah,
So sad
so good
and so good.
and
Yeah.
so different from anything else
she
that
does.
she's ever done.
Yep.
Well, and King's Speech, by extension,
yes.
she plays a different member of the
Yes.
royal. She plays the Queen Mother, but yeah. I mean,
But it
I
is
remember seeing that,
understandable. I mean,
and
like,
that came out in
what?
2011. So right on the
Yeah,
heels of
right
Deathly
after.
Hallows, I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, wow,
Holy
that was
cow.
different.
Yeah, so I just loved, you know, you always love when you get to hear stories of how you hope people are on
Yes.
set
Yes.
and
Yeah.
everything, and how, everyone
was so
described, like,
playful.
even if, you were supposed to be heading a specific scene, you just didn't ever know exactly what was going to happen
Yeah.
with her
She
because
was a wild card.
because she is a wild card as a person, and also Bellatrix, like,
free reign to do whatever she wanted.
Yeah.
Jason Isaacs was like, I
What?
was trying to hold the scene together. Never mind, like,
yeah, he's like, I vividly remember, and she's like, kissing in Malfoy's ear, and like,
Literally
she's,
bouncing around.
yeah, just cackling in the corner. Like, it had to have been very invigorating, but also, a little scary.
Those are the roles that I feel like are dream roles. At least for me, it would be just like where you have legitimately
you
free
have
reign.
permission to do whatever,
chaos agent.
Oh my god.
and they'll pull you back if they
Yeah.
like need to, but like,
Yeah.
you get to go there.
Yeah. Don't be. Yeah. We'll bring you down. You go balls to the walls. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she did.
Yeah. So it was just lovely to see all of them. They all just really actually did seem to like each other. And even though there obviously were difficult times, like that would be psychotic to look back at a 10-year period and be like, it was all roses and puppies, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
to have them be like, it is the fondest, a lot of them said it is the fondest memories of their lives.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it like almost like was their a lot of their lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, this is kind of retreading what I've already said, but there's something just nice about seeing a positive work environment on something that big.
Yeah.
'Cause, think of all the stories we hear now in our
Doesn't always happen like
on
that.
stage in our own industry. I feel like more often than not we hear of some kind of just
We get a lot of type A
Bullshit.
personalities with like lots of what's the word I'm looking for? Not pride, but just like
Entitlements.
maybe, yeah.
Egos.
Yeah, it's an ego battle.
And
yeah.
look, it would be naive to think that didn't occur. Of
course it did.
somewhere in 10
Of course it
years.
did.
You would
but
think,
but
yeah.
again, they don't all show up and look like they're all on the verge of tears when asked very simple questions.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
yeah.
So I don't know, like seeing positive working environments
Mm-hmm.
for artists is encouraging.
Yes.
It's possible.
And and it was cool to see that like most of the or if all of the directing staff.
Yeah,
were
all the directors were back.
Yeah, and and all of them, the way that they spoke of them was just like such a like each of them were like separate stepfathers.
Yeah, yeah,
to
uncles.
each of the characters, you know.
Yeah.
And we're so kind and
Which, as we know, in big franchises can be really tricky, you know,
Yeah.
sort of graduating from director to director that way.
Right.
yeah.
And I think that this, and a lot of people will disagree with me, but like,
I disagree.
Let me get it out first. I think that this film franchise did a very good job of sort of, like I said, graduating and having it not feel like a lot of people feel about the prequel Star Wars trilogy and
Sure.
Kind of the sequel too.
the sequel as well. And yeah, they sort of as the books, you know, developed and tonally became darker and broader, and they did a great job of putting directors onto the films that matched
Yes.
the books.
Yes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And speaking of which, I think Dan Radcliffe said Christopher Columbus doesn't get enough credit for what he achieved with
Yep.
those kids. And Christopher Columbus is known for working with kids in a lot of his movies. So he
Right.
was the perfect,
He's the Home Alone guy.
Yeah.
like the perfect guy to kind of shepherd them. And then as you said, they kind of started to grow up with Alfonso Cuarón, who's like out there. Like
Very much
he's made
so,
some very edgy, tense, kind of spooky movies.
And in their like very pubescent years,
Yeah.
which I think matched. They talked a lot about that in the special, how it was not a stretch for them to be awkward, you know, preteens and teenagers because they were.
Right, and then come Goblet of Fire, there was like hormones were just raging.
So
Yes.
hilarious.
It's just hilarious to think about that
Yeah.
what that set must have been like. And
Oh.
they talked about all the inner dating and all of the like
Sure.
anything that would happen at school, and that was school. I mean,
Right.
Like it's so funny to think about, but
And it feels like the directors were like purposefully like stirring the pot, like 'cause he was his mentioning he's just like them casting like all these like purposefully hot people.
yeah, right.
Yes.
The Bobattons and the Durmstrangs come in,
Yes.
and they're all purposefully hot.
Very funny.
But it's reflected on screen. Like that's why
Yeah.
these stories are so great to hear from them. Because like, oh, then that's absolutely what was
Yep.
happening.
That
That's
is
so
what
great.
came across, and that is exactly it.
And that's it's an elusive thing to capture too.
Yes.
And that's kind of what you hope for in acting, is that it, if not real life, it's very close to mirroring the feelings of real life.
Yep.
And damn.
Yeah.
I something randomly popped in my head. Another fun moment, which I think it may have already been common knowledge, at least with a lot of the like super Harry Potter fans, but that Alan Rickman, that he was the only person who knew about how his character
I didn't know that.
ended.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that from somebody, but hearing the story about how like even the director, like Chris, came up to him and was just like, "Why did you make that choice?" And he was just like,
I'll tell you.
"I'll tell you later."
Brilliant.
Like just wonderful that
Well,
he
and if
had
there
that,
was
he had that power
anyone,
over everyone.
if there was anyone, you know, as far as a person and a character was concerned, who needed to
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
he needed to know.
and what a
Yes.
what a
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's a testament to his acting ability and or skill, like as an actor, just to like know that he needed to ask the writer like no that this character like has to know. Yeah.
Well, and think about
And they
that.
convinced her of that.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You know?
And think about that. Knowing he has his story fleshed out in his head.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back and watch Sorcerer's Stone and how
allegedly nobody gave the information. Like he had to
he had to
ask
go.
for
He
it.
had to go get it.
Yeah.
And if you go back and watch Sorcerer's Stone with that in mind, and how poorly he treats Harry, it's like he was thinking about his mom.
Yeah. Oh.
But knowing that Alan Rickman already knew that, that was already built into Snape. It wasn't kind of introduced and kind of retconned.
I can't wait to watch them all now.
I know,
knowing
me too.
that information because I feel like I'm just gonna be like watching.
It's there
him
the
extra
entire
hard
time.
the whole time.
It is really there the
and
whole time.
I mean, you feel that because he's a brilliant actor, anyways. And even if he didn't know, I would be like, he did.
We did. Well, we did believe it.
We
like,
did.
Well,
Yeah.
first
Like,
we saw the
you're
full
like-
arc. I was like, oh wow.
And you're like, you
I
look
was
back
there.
at all those films and you're like, oh no, it's all there.
But it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, and I would have watched a whole special just on that too, because like, you know, a lot of the directors might have directed him completely differently, and I suppose J.K. Rowling could have always like, because I don't know exactly how hands-on she was like in this like on set.
She was, I mean, pretty active, I think.
Yeah, I would assume so. But like, if the director ever like made Snape do something that like
Was weird
and not she
yeah.
probably would have put the kibosh on it.
Yeah,
I assume,
yeah.
but like. But the fact that he was able to probably do that, be like, oh, that's not how Snape would say this, so it's got to be this. That's
but
so
in like
cool.
the most polite British way
Right.
possible.
Yes.
Gentlemanly
I
British.
mean, it's always been the case, but they absolutely nailed the casting
They really did.
across the board. Like,
But-
I mean, it's
Mostly with my favorite character of all time in
Luna Lovegood.
Luna Lovegood. Yep, there it is.
she is.
She truly is the greatest cast character in all of TV movie history.
And that story about writing to J.K. Rowling and telling her about her struggle with loneliness, and
yeah.
and then she
What
got
did
to
she say? She said, "My world would be nothing without the Harry Potter books."
God. I will never
Are
forget.
you joking?
I'll never forget the driest of deliveries with her like lion outfit on.
that headpiece.
She's sitting around like, "You don't look well, Ron." Like, it's so good.
She is truly...
I cannot believe that she. I mean, I can because she is Luna Lovegood,
She
but
is.
they lucked the frick
Wow.
out finding her that ridiculous.
What? And
cattle
finding those
call.
kids and then betting on them
Yeah.
for 10 years. That because Alyssa, you and I were talking about it this afternoon, that kids don't always end up looking, I guess, the way you. They don't grow into the person you imagine they're going to grow into.
Well, and also
Or acting
I would
Right.
literally
I mean,
right.
you
say
watch
that,
like
yeah.
little kids that are like little babies on sitcoms, and you know it's always like fingers crossed. Like I
Ooh,
always,
hope they get good.
yeah, like that girl from Modern Family. Oh,
Oh, it just wasn't it.
Oh,
It just
it
wasn't
got
it.
so bad. It got so bad.
They're like, well, we're stuck with it.
I mean,
Well,
they can't recast her.
You could.
They
could.
do sometimes,
And they
but
do.
it's
But
yeah,
it
woof.
always is weird. And actually, like, it is a miracle that they like didn't have to. I mean, they only recast one person, but it was only because he wasn't. there anymore.
Michael Gambon replaced Richard Harris as
Yes.
Dumbledore.
Yeah, right. And but I mean, so that was just out of like 100% necessity. Like, but with everybody else, they 100% lucked out.
And
like,
those
it wasn't they were
kids-
just like, oh, we'll make it work. But like, they were all really good because I think mostly the directors were smart because they didn't just cast people that were like good actors. They just cast people that like actually were the people.
They had spirit, like their spirit matched
Yes.
the.
yeah, which for kid casting is like such a
entire
good-
battle.
Yeah.
such a good example.
what you have to do.
Yeah.
That's the part that made me laugh the most, was when Daniel Radcliffe said, "I was this really bright kid, really funny kid with a haunted side, I guess." I guess that's what they saw me. It was like,
That's a really good example, though,
Yeah.
of how
Yeah.
he read. Like,
and they all grew up into the best version of themselves. Like, you look at them now, it's like those were absolutely them.
Yeah.
You believe it. Like,
Totally. Yeah, like for instance, if they if they were to do like a sequel,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and like have them be in it,
Plug
like,
and play.
Yeah, it would be super easy because
Yeah.
they're the same people.
They are them.
Yeah, they are them. Yeah, Ron is like I think out of all of them, like probably the most like maybe like the one that's. I don't know if matured is the right word. But
Yeah.
like, is that what it is?
He's extremely grounded.
Yeah, he's gotten so much more grounded.
He's got a child, I think. He's out.
Yeah, he he
he's-
I don't want to say he seemed exhausted, but like he just like he's not as like no
a wild card. Yeah.
Yeah, but that that's what happens when you grow up. Yeah,
To some people, I suppose.
to some people probably.
Yeah.
Just
Probably.
like me, I am
Yeah.
much more subtle than
Daniel's
I was
so
than
calm.
when I was a child.
Can you imagine that
Oh,
for a moment?
I can. I'm scared. I'm scared.
No, actually, it was a little bit the opposite, to be honest.
You were shy.
I was like, oh
Yeah.
my god, I don't want to do anything. I'm so shy. Yeah, so I a lot of reserve. Yeah, this is my reserved energy.
Yeah, I was shy too. I think I did my first impression of something when I was like 11 or 12.
Oh wow,
And my parents were like,
what the hell is
"What's
wrong
going
with
on?"
you?
I was doing.
She's a witch. Burn her.
I was doing Cher and like, yeah, Cher and this weird goat character called Goat Girl.
Go
Time.
girl.
Goat Girl.
Oh
Mhm.
my god.
And I was doing Darth Vader's lines from Return of the Jedi into my grandpa's. He had a handheld microphone plugged into
Into
his
the PC.
PC,
Yes.
and we would
Yeah.
change the voice setting, and I'd do all the
Wonderful.
lines, and that was it.
Mm.
But
Oh my god.
for those listening or watching who don't know,
All two of you.
what houses
Oh,
do
yes.
you belong to?
Well, I
Let's go
am.
around.
The first time I took the test, I was a. I mean,
You
well,
tested
actually,
negative.
okay,
He
wait,
he
you know what?
tested positive.
tested
Yeah, I tested
positive,
positive.
and
Yes,
then-
I tested positive for, and I'm actually.
It was a
going
nasal
to-
swab for your Hogwarts house.
This is gonna be.
I did the mouth one for my first
Oh.
test.
I think
So
this
it
is.
was
I
super
did,
accurate.
and mine was.
I think this will be more fun. What do you think
Oh.
I tested? And I'll tell you what I actually tested.
Oh,
Squib.
okay. What do you think?
I said he was a squib. Which
Squib!
Means, which
Squib!
means,
A combo.
well, means somebody who's in the wizarding world but can't practice magic.
I would say
Definitely do not give this man a wand.
Honestly, I think you're like a combo.
You're right.
Huffleclaw.
I think you're either a Huffleclaw or a Griffin Puff. Griffin Puff?
He could be a Griffin Puff
You're completely correct.
or a Huffledore.
Was it those
It
three?
was Griffin Puff.
Griffin
Griffin Puff.
Yeah, it was Griffin Puff. I first tested Hufflepuff, second test Gryffindor. So I am
Now,
somewhere
have you?
right in between.
Did you do this on Pottermore?
I did.
So did you get your Patronus as well? Do you know what your?
I
your
don't know.
I
I
didn't
haven't
do that
done
because I was
mine.
like, my Patronus is Elaine Stritch. Period.
Okay, I believe
That's-
that. So Expecto Patronum,
Another
Elaine
vodka
Stritch.
stinger.
Dementors will not come anywhere near you.
Nowhere near.
He's safe.
yes.
He's safe.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
That tracks.
Yes.
That tracks.
Okay,
So
Alyssa.
you.
But the problem is, I think I don't 100% remember, but I think I already know what you are.
Easy, you're
But-
Slytherin. 100%.
Yeah, you're a Slytherin.
So what? I would say you're a Ravenclaw,
I'm also a combo.
Yeah. You're
a Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Griffin
Gryffindor.
Claw.
So what are you?
I'm a Gryffindor.
Oh, you're Griff. Well, so I think we all like think that you're because you
Because you
always
love
like
the
the evil
evils.
characters.
Well, I think that also there are, it's just like with
It's a-
horoscopes. There are traits from every.
I messed around with that quiz.
Yeah.
And there is I don't know which question it is, but there is one
There's
question
one
difference.
that's-
And I can't figure out which one it is.
interesting.
One question, what?
There's one question difference between Gryffindor and Slytherin, at least in my
really?
experience.
Oh, and you know what? And that's the thing. A lot of the evil characters happen to be in Slytherin, but it's not that they're like
not
actually
an
an
evil-
Well, Harry was supposed to be. So
Yeah,
Harry was in
exactly,
Slytherin.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
he chose
He's like,
Gryffindor.
no. And I think it's about I think it's something about power, right? Like in
Slytherin?
and seeking.
Well, Slytherin is
Power.
ambition.
Ambition,
Gryffindor, there can be an arrogance associated
Yes.
with Gryffindor, but it's
like
also
a courage and
a
bravery.
pride, like a pride versus ambition. I think is kind of the.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Also,
And the Hufflepuffs are.
I do like the
clowns.
villainous characters, but that's because
They're cool.
They're cool because they don't. I don't exist in that
Totally.
Yeah,
world.
they're complex.
So it's like
and
you get to
yeah.
you get to do bad stuff, and I'm very much not that.
So the good news is that it sounds like we all would have been in the same, potentially in the same class. We'd have been in Gryffindors together.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another question. Since we're playing like 20 questions Harry
Sure.
Potter style, we're on the Quidditch team together.
Okay.
What position are you playing?
Oh, I mean, probably not the. Well, I don't know. I am pretty good at video games.
I think you'd be a beater.
A beater?
Honestly,
That's interesting.
you've got good hand-eye coordination.
I do.
From your video gaming.
Certainly.
I could imagine you like it, taking great pleasure in just smacking someone.
Well, you know, when I did play softball with Alyssa.
there you go.
You
You're a
did?
beater. You're one of our two
And
He
beaters.
did. He hit the ball too. He
I
got a
did.
couple of base runs.
I
alright?
believe that.
Yeah.
I scored a couple.
I was
points.
terrible at hitting in baseball. I was good at stealing base. Once I was on base, it was over.
That sounds like a very Slytherin thing to do.
Slytherin.
Well,
Slytherin.
so I think you would be I think you'd
beater?
be a beater.
A beater. Mm-hmm.
That sounds right.
What would you want to be, Alyssa?
I want to be a lion tamer.
So we've got
That's
Whoa, that is a
deep grab.
throwback.
wow.
Deep grab.
Speaking of college, whoa, Lion Tamer. Last time I heard that song.
So we got
good song though.
the chasers, the beaters, the keeper, the seeker.
I think that I perhaps would be a keeper.
Keeper.
Okay.
So that's the
Defender,
the goal person,
defender
right?
of
Yeah.
the defender of the
Whacking
hoops.
the balls away from the goal.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think that.
Sure.
That
yeah,
sounds.
goalie.
Yeah.
Well, yes, when we played,
When we played softball, I was catcher.
Okay.
catcher.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, look at this.
it's exactly
So-
what it was.
And I think I'd be a seeker
A
because
seeker.
Yeah,
I liked to move fast when I was young, and
Mhm.
that's all you need to be able to do.
That's
for
true.
That.
And he's the star of the show.
yes.
Well, or you're just
Somewhat.
struggling for days trying to find the snitch, because literally there's no end.
Yeah, right. Never
Uh,
ends.
brutal game.
Guys, I can't.
I will never
I really
I'm never
liked. I
gonna find
liked Chris Columbus talking about how
Christopher Columbus.
they needed to be able to explain, obviously in the films,
Right.
what Quidditch was.
They give Oliver Wood like that.
very quickly.
They got an entire rule book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, she published that book. I
She did.
think I have it on my bookshelf.
Yeah.
Like
Do you?
it's great. Like
That's
it's
amazing.
it's a rule book. It's
That's
fantastic.
That's awesome.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
We would be. I mean, we should mention that it was very interesting to see how they dealt with J.K. Rowling's situation.
Yeah.
It was
as
very.
were.
They were very tippy
Tippy-toe.
toey.
Pre-recorded.
They definitely
Pre-recorded
didn't-
stuff.
They definitely didn't like. I mean, because it's not the right place. They weren't like gonna say, oh well, J.K. Rowling is canceled or anything like that. But
Yeah.
they barely had her there. And when they did have her on camera, like there was a little asterisk at the bottom that said like,
Recorded from 2019.
yeah, it's like we didn't know at that time.
But
It was a different time.
Daniel Radcliffe addressed this. I don't remember if it was a couple years ago.
He did.
Someone asked him about it, and he said,
Yeah.
"Look, what she said about that, it's not."
I don't subscribe to that.
Well, and neither does her creation.
Yeah, right.
Like-
Exactly.
You are able to take what she wrote in Harry Potter at face value.
Yes.
You can still do that.
Like the world of Harry Potter to me, like Hogwarts is like all are welcome.
Yeah,
The idea of
the
acceptance.
opposite. It's the opposite of exclusivity.
Yeah,
It's
it's
everyone
so-
is there. There are no. There is
So-
no lonely
No.
no loneliness. No. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, and
That's the
I
way
remember
that
the
I
articles
envision
that there was one article. It might have been in the New Yorker that said it's time for this generation to let Harry Potter go. And I was like, that is the exact opposite.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like it's more time for us to like gain ownership of it, like over that bullshit, I guess. And it's
Right.
hard because as long as she lives, she will continue to benefit from the money that we pour down that.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But
You can also hope that with time, because I think of J.K. Rowling and the suffering she went through when she was writing the books, I
Yeah.
have to hold out hope that someone who had the wherewithal to write books about acceptance
Yeah.
and bringing everyone into the big tent will gain an understanding at some point.
Eventually.
And I hope
That is my
I
hope
really
That's a good
too.
hope.
I hope
Yeah, that's a
for
good
it
hope.
because
Yeah.
it really is a shame to not that she has tarnished it, but to even risk like ruining something that meant so much to
Mm-hmm.
to not just us, but the people she kind of alienated.
Well, yeah, there's like a whole.
I think
there's-
that's. I think that's
they've
what
always
the,
seen themselves
I
in
think
Harry
that's what the most hurtful thing
Tragic.
about it is, because it's like, just like you said, the books are all about not being alone and
Yes.
finding family and finding connection and being true to yourself,
Right.
and
It feels like
and
there's a
being
lot of
cour- and being
allegory in
coura-
there.
being
Oh, so much.
courageous when times are hard and awful, and yeah, so it's really a shame, but I do
her
hope
secretly
that
writing that Dumbledore is actually gay, like like that was like a, oh my gosh, like she actually like wrote that into the, like, so it gave like a lot of us like so much hope about the series, and I like to hope and dream that she will come around someday, because it just seems the most out of character, and so
Doesn't it though? Like
Yeah, it
somebody
seems
who
strange.
wrote the way she did, it really came out of left field, because it's
Yes.
like that's nowhere to be found.
Yes, but
So-
Yeah.
she wrote off the
It's a
trans
shame.
community, but they absolutely belong at Hogwarts.
Yep.
Yes.
If you're living
So
and
you
breathing,
heard it here, all of our trans friends.
That's right.
You are in Hogwarts no matter what has been said. You are welcome there. All are welcome at Hogwarts.
All are welcome.
Oh yeah, we got some bright washed out light there for a
Yes, we
second.
did.
Thank you, lighting design.
but like speaking of all the allegories, like we can and should at some point really
Do
dive
like
down
a
those
full-
rabbit holes.
Yes,
Maybe
I'm totally think we should do like
we-
a full blown Harry Potter time.
I would be
since we've
obsessed.
opened this podcast to
The fandoms.
the multiverse of fandoms, like we would be remiss if we didn't
We
touch
need
the one
to-
that like was
Yes.
ours.
Yes, I'm down.
Um,
Let's do it.
So we'll do that at some
At
point.
some point, we also want to do
Amid
Lord
the-
of the Rings as well.
Yeah.
So
Another
we're-
big 20th
Woo!
anniversary, but
maybe
That's coming down the
somehow if there's like a break in releasing of things.
there's no break ever
There's
again.
no breaks.
Especially not this
we
year,
just
my God.
we just took a giant break, and there will never be another one because
Right.
they've got
It's
such
not
a
possible.
backlog of.
Yeah.
But
well,
we'll fit it in.
yeah, we'll sprinkle them in because I would love to.
Yeah, that'd be
spend
fun.
more time talking about.
I
There's some
definitely don't
good
mind it.
stuff. I want to talk about that class I took because it's
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I want to hear
Yeah.
more about that, because it's so interesting to me.
interesting.
Yeah, I think we could have that conversation about all the different.
Oh, you bet. Lord of the Rings.
and Star Wars, and I auditioned for a series like a couple weeks ago. That's all about just correlating religion to Star Wars.
Neato.
Cool.
In particular.
Cool.
So I had to. My audition tape was like talking about how I identify, spiritually or religiously,
Mhm.
what my connection is with Star Wars and what I think about them.
I love it.
And I was like, please, oh please, and I
love
didn't
it.
get it though.
Ah, crap.
So don't watch it.
So
They wouldn't know genius
it's-
if it bit him in the face.
No, I do. I'm gonna. It's on like my radar now. So
I can't
I'm like,
wait.
when that is released, I'm like, yeah,
That's
that's
cool.
awesome. So, well,
Well,
any final?
Happy Christmas, Harry.
Happy Christmas. Harry.
I'm trying to think.
Happy Christmas, Ron.
There were so many great moments in that. But yeah.
Well, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, of
We'll
course.
think on it when next we touch Harry Potter. We'll talk
And
about it.
we might be going to Universal this
Oh,
week.
that'll be so fun.
We just talked about it.
We're trying to
We're-
make the most of our time together here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
we'll
don't
bring
get to-
we'll bring all of our equipment.
Oh
and
my
we
gosh.
will make a
Well,
podcast
yeah, we could
on the ride.
On the ride.
Alyssa's
We're on
throwing up.
Sweet.
All right.
Well,
It is a barf machine.
all right. Okay. Well, that was the HBO Max Harry Potter 20th anniversary return to Hogwarts.
Yes, and you will see this visual podcast also on HBO Max.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh.
We're gonna submit it. I'm sure it'll be on there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll put it
you
on there.
They'll
for
put
sure.
it on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. I'm Alyssa Simmons.
And I'm Daniel Dawson.
And I'm Dino Nicandros.
May the force be with you.
Always.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast. Please like and subscribe.